What's going on, everybody? Matt here. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another video. And I just realized that I didn't make an intro for this video. So here it is. This is the pig mask that we worked on, or that you'll see us work on in this video. I just wanted to do this to kind of intro the video a little bit. Sorry about the lighting and stuff. I'm literally just shooting this in my office upstairs. But yeah, this is what we're going to be working on today. So let's get to it. So here's our blank pig mask, GTA 5 pig mask. This one actually will be my personal copy. I got some air holes in the, or some air bubbles, I guess, in the ears. Got a couple in the eyes there. Just some little odds and ends stuff just to keep the, or to make the skin imperfect. So this one will be mine. Because I've never made one of these for myself. So I decided that today was going to be that day. The lights, unfortunately, are kind of washing this out. This is actually the skin tone latex. I use the skin tone latex specifically for these pigs because it just helps translate the color a little bit better. So yeah, we're going to be turning this guy into this guy. This is my GTA 5 online character. And I've worn the pig mask pretty much since day one, so you know, it only seems fitting that I make one of these for myself. So we'll get into some of the paints here. We've got us a nice little orange base. Hopefully these colors are translating well. Again, the light kind of washes things out. I do like to paint a little bit and then turn the light off just to sort of get more of a more realistic color. But so I don't use any expensive paints. I use pretty much the cheapest stuff that you can get. We've got just some Master's Touch acrylic. It doesn't matter. I have Artist Loft here, which is also a super cheap acrylic, or we've got the Apple Barrel, which I think is like a Walmart brand acrylic. You can actually use Apple Barrel for all of these. It does not matter. That's why there's just this mismatch of paints, because I just use pretty much whatever I want. So we start off with a nice base of the orange. This is just a regular orange. There's no fancy name to the orange. We use it with a base. I usually try to mix it 50-50 with latex, just because that's, you know, it's good. It promotes good adhesion to the latex mask. If you paint this with just straight up acrylics, you can. There's nothing wrong with that, but just know that once it's painted, give it just a few hours to set, and then immediately apply some sort of flexible top coat, because the acrylics alone are flexible, but over time, especially with latex, because latex is a very, very flexible medium, the paint will crack. So again, super cheap acrylics. Start with a base of the orange with the 50% latex in there. You can just kind of eyeball it. I think you can pretty much use any latex. I know, like, application latex is like a little bit different of a formula, but I just use mask casting latex, obviously, because I, you know, cast masks. But yeah, so it can be pretty much whatever latex that you want, and then you just mix it with the acrylic, the appropriate acrylics, to get whatever sort of colors that you want. So once we have the orange, I do like to go in with a small, like, couple of drops of white to sort of mute the brightness of the orange, because this is like crazy orange. And then if you look at our reference here, which obviously this has sun glaring on it, so the orange looks a little stronger, but that orange is nuts. Like, you don't need that color to be on the base of the mask. So you mute it with a little bit of white, which gets you more of this, like, sort of, it's just a very flat orange. And then I kind of go in with, which these have been, there's been water added because these tubes are almost empty. And I like to just go ahead and thin my paints whenever they get to this point. So it's just a little bit of the raw umber, if you can read that, because I've got overspray on pretty much everything. But yeah, just a nice raw umber, nothing crazy. Just a couple of drops of it, mix in, and just basically I eyeball all my paints. I add just a tiny few drops, mix, tiny few drops, mix, and then I wanted just a tiny bit of the Persian red in there, which is more of like just a pink. It's very like fleshy pink color. Again, watered down. Just a couple of drops, mix, a couple of drops, mix, and until you just like this color. And I think that we're at a good spot. Obviously, this is going to be airbrushed on, so I can control how heavy we go onto the colors. But yes, we're just going to give this thing some deep color in the recesses, just to mimic the sort of like forehead crease here, under the eyes, around the mouth, because I do want a lot of this, again, flesh tone latex to show through, because that will give me these highlights here on the eyebrows and on the cheeks and on the ears. So yeah, let's just get into it. Alright, so now we have this at a point that I'm pretty happy with as far as like the base coat goes. Again, you want to, let's see if I can go ahead and just turn that off really fast. So now you can kind of see in a little bit better, more natural lighting, sort of how this is. Again, for some reason the camera is kind of washing this out. This is actually a little bit more orange than I would like, but it's not too bad. I'm not too upset about it. I might go over this eyebrow a little bit here. We're kind of missing a little bit of that dark tone. So what I'm going to do is actually take a little bit of, once I get my light turned back on, we're going to take a little bit of this medium magenta, thin it down. I'm just going to take, I've just got my little silicone cups here. We're just going to take a little bit of this. And basically the reason that I do this is so that way it mixes a little finer. It mixes with a little bit less pigment, so that way it's not as aggressive whenever you go to mix it in. It just helps everything sort of blend a little easier, and it's also way easier to color control. And that's kind of what you want whenever you're doing more gradient style. So we are just going to put a little bit of that into this cup. Again, not a lot, just a very tiny little bit. Take your water. Just have a little squirt bottle here. And then, of course, invest in some tongue depressors. These are magical. But yeah, then you just give it a little bit of mix. Not worried about mixing in latex with this color, and the main reason is just because we're just going to mix this straight into the base. I don't have any worries about this not taking or sticking to the mask, because we'll be mixing this straight into our base that already has the latex mixed in. So you just want to get this mixed until it is very thinned out. You don't want it to be like very drippy. You still want it to have a little bit of mixing, or like if you take like this and you do a little bit of that, you want it to slowly drip. You don't want to make it so runny that there's no like body to the paint. If that makes any sense. Just kind of want it to drip. And that seems pretty good. So now what we're going to do is we're just going to take a little bit of our orange here, and we are basically just going to take a couple of very small pores, because again, you were just feeling this out. We'll take our orange stick here, and we'll just give it a mix. All right, so this is my final result. It's kind of hard to see, but it is very, as you can tell, you can actually see the original orange at the top of the stick, and then you can see the new orange below. This will be what we go over the entire mask with, just to sort of blend. Because as you can tell right now, which again, for whatever reason, the camera is washing me out, but you can really tell, well, I guess you can see it pretty good on camera too, but you can really tell like where my lines are, and I don't really care for that. I would like for things to be a little bit more natural. So yeah, we're just gonna go back to painting. So I'm definitely pretty happy with the way that this is turning out. Again, camera's kind of washing me out a little bit. It is a little bit more orange in real life, but again, that's the lights and everything else kind of happening. But everything's pretty good so far, I think. I actually really enjoy it as far as the color goes. So what we're going to do is we're going to continue with our orange that we've made, and we're going to add some more of the raw umber to it to darken it up, because I'm going to go over just some of the deeper areas with just a very tiny bit of paint, because there are just some small places that I would like a little bit darker details, like the ears, around the eyes just a little bit, like in the corners. So we're just going to get this mixed up. So you can still see the original orange here and then the new orange there. And again, just to darken it up enough to where we can get a little bit of these details kind of painted in, just a tiny little bit, and make everything look a little bit crazier, just a little bit more realistic, you know. So here we go. Alright, so we have added more of the medium magenta, and what we are going to do now is something that is a little crazy. We're going to just grab our, let's see here, we've got a cadmium red medium hue. Again, we're all over the place with paints, but yeah, we're just going to add this a little bit because we want to go ahead and do the nose and the lip, and I might add some around the eyes just to give a little bit more life. And I'm actually going to mix this in the medium magenta, because I've used all of my medium magenta, so we're just going to put that right back in there. Grab our magenta thing here, add just a magenta stick, add just a couple of squirts of water, because again, you don't really want these to be, you just want these to be usable. You don't really want them to be so thinned down that you can't, that you have to add a ton. It's better to just mix a little bit, and then that way you can add more as you go. Mixing until smooth. Again, you don't want any lumps. You would like to get this as smooth as possible, so that way whenever you add it to your other paint base, it just kind of goes on a little better. So it's just enough. Obviously you can see the transition there. So we're gonna go ahead and just add this back into our airbrush and get painting. Alright, so now we got that done. As you can tell, the nose and lips are a little darker. So now what we are going to do is get us a third cup, because there are some small details that I want to include on this one. So we want to get a clean cup now. We don't want to do any of the cups that we have been using, because we do not want any other colors in these other than the one that we are about to add. Because this is basically our detail layer. So we want to just kind of go through with a new color, completely new color, and add a little bit of details. And what we're going to do is we have some folk art here. We have been using the raw umber, which is nice. But now I like to do a dark truffle to just go through and add just a little bit of darkness to the mask. Again, do not worry about the for this layer. You don't really have to worry about adding any latex, because it is going to be such a thin layer that the top coat will take care of the flexibility and stuff and the flaking off. And again, you do a little bit of the drip test. This one's probably going to take a little bit longer to drip because we do have it thinned down pretty good. Because again, this is just a detail layer. You do not want to go too heavy with the paint on this one because it will start to look ridiculous. So now what we're going to do is we're going to hit our nostrils here. I'm going to hit just a little bit of the lip, and then we're actually going to go through and see if we can't add the moles that are on this mask, because there are a few. There's one on the cheek, I think it's on the cheek, and then I think that there's either one or two on the back, so we are going to go ahead and try to hit those as well. So let's see what we can do here. Let's see if we can pull this off. Okay, so I don't know if you can tell by the way that I was painting this. I don't like that. That did not go to plan. So I'm going to do this a little bit differently. You know, no big deal. Just kind of change things up on the fly. So what we are going to do is we're going to add a little bit more of our dark truffle to the cup that we were using. And I am going to add a little bit of latex, because we are going to be doing this a little bit differently. So I'm just going to take a little bit of my latex here. Again, no big deal. There will be a little bit of blemishes. I'm not worried about it. Again, this is my mask. If this was a mask for sale or something, I probably would have panicked and just completely repainted the entire thing. But we're not going to do that. Instead, we're just going to fix it on the fly and not worry about it too much. So whenever you mix your dark truffle or whatever brown that you decide to use and your latex, do not add water. We want this to be as thick as the latex. The medium will add just a little bit of thickness to it, which is completely fine. I am going to add a little bit of black to mine. The thin down black, that's legit just a Mars black to be more specific, but it is the Liquitex Basics, because I just want mine to be a little bit darker. Not much darker, just a little bit. So we're just going to add a few little drips, and then we are going to, and the only thing about that I don't really like is the thin down aspect of it, but it's not thin down enough that I think it will really matter, because the latex and the brown will kind of bring that back to life and kind of keep it from being too dark. And for fun, I'm going to add a little bit of our orange, because I don't want this thing to be very one color. It's a mole, so I would like for it to have a little bit of life. You know, moles are they're a little bit of everything. You got some browns in there, you maybe have some reds in there. So that orange will kind of help bring this to a more lifelike color. Show you what I've come up with here. It is kind of a gray. Again, my cameras are really washing the colors out, but it is a brown. And then we are going to do a very technical step. Now be prepared for this, because this is a very, very professional tip. This is a, like, I don't even know what to call this. This is so official that, like, I don't even know if I should be showing you this or not. Take the end of a marker. This is just a very generic Sharpie. Take the end of it. We're going to dip it in our paint just to cover the end. And then where our moles are, we are just going to hit this with a little dot. And I think I'm actually going to make my moles just a little bit bigger. So I'm going to push just a little harder to get that spread. And then we'll go here, add one there. And that should be good there. And then I'm going to add another one because I'm pretty sure there's one on the back, which I went ahead and painted for, as you can tell. And one of the reasons why I still painted the brown on these, even after I was very upset with the way that the color was, is because this will blend a little better once it's dry. Because now it's a very solid color right now, but eventually it will dry. And I don't even know that I'm going to be happy with the way that turns out once it's dry. I have no clue. We're just winging this because this is just sort of a, not really a tutorial, but we're just hanging out right now. We're just painting masks. I'm just kind of showing you some of the techniques. And I had this laying around to make for myself and decided that today would be a good day to, you know, finish it. So that should be pretty good. But that's probably gonna take a little bit longer to dry than you would like because it is, I mean, it's just straight up latex. And latex needs the moisture to evaporate before it becomes a solid thing. So what we are going to do is I'm gonna go ahead and hit this with a top coat. Normally I would let the latex dry, but I'm not really too worried about it right now, especially considering this will just be a display piece. This is not a wearable piece. So I'm just going to go ahead and set this up to clear coat it and finish it. So this is what I use. There's a million other things that you can use out there, but I like the clear flex paint from Brick and the Mold Supply, which they technically don't sell this anymore. It's the Fox and whatever that sell this now. It's still Brick and the Mold Supply, or Brick and the Yard Mold Supply, sorry. But the other company has bought the rights, I think. I mean, this is still a company, so I don't know how that works. They might have just like kind of licensed it out. But this stuff is great. This stuff is actually meant for polyurethane masks, but if you spray it on thin enough, it adheres to latex pretty well. If not, if you don't want to use this, Monster Makers makes a latex top coat that you can do. I think they come in gloss and matte as well. This will always, you can control what finish you get with this. If you spray it on super heavy, it gives you a very gloss finish. If you just sort of lightly spray it on, you get more of like a satin finish with like a little, you'll get some gloss highlights in there every now and then. But yeah, it's super easy to control. You can thin it out with water if you want. This is a water soluble product. And then of course, if you want to clean it up, clean it out of your airbrush, just a little bit of soap and water, and it pretty much just runs right out. So yeah, let's go ahead and get this shook up. We don't have much of this left. I just bought some more, so this is just the last little bit of that. But we are just going to turn our airbrush back on and get to it. Alright, there you have it. This is the final paint job for the GTA 5 Pig Mask. I'm very, very happy with the way that it turned out. I'm actually really happy that we got it done in just one sitting. Normally I would always take a little longer with paints, especially latex paints, because you kind of want them to cure before you really start adding any more layers to them. Again, this is just my mask, so I'm not super worried about any of that. I'm just going to put it on one of my display heads, and this thing is just going to sit on a shelf that I'm currently building to display all the masks that I have personally worn. So yeah, I hope that this has been nice for you guys. I hope that this has been informal, and I hope that you have enjoyed the process, because realistically this is very, very cookie cutter. This is the process for every mask that I make. I mix my own paints, I top coat everything by myself, with, you know, not anything like crazy. I know a lot of people will use like rubber cement and like naphtha and all that stuff. That's crazy to me. And everything that I'm using is very, very, very easy to get. There's no harmful chemicals involved. The only thing that really I would say do is kind of vent yourself whenever you're using the latex, because the ammonia can affect you, differently. Some people get affected by it quite a bit. Other people, like me, I've been doing this for so long that I smell it, but it doesn't even register that that's what it is. So just, PPE, that type of stuff, you kind of want to be a little cautious with everything. But as far as, the other stuff goes, there's nothing bad. Even the top coat very specifically says that this is non-hazardous with no VOCs. So, that's, again, everything you guys can get. I will put the link to the new site for this down below, and I will also put the link for the Monster Makers stuff down there below as well. You can pretty much you can actually get all of this stuff at Monster Makers if you want. This I get from the Engineer Guy. I do my latex from both places. The Engineer Guy just had some extra stuff that I wanted, so I just bought everything from the one place. But Monster Makers they actually have their own latex paints as well. So if you don't want to do this and you want to skip this entire step and just mix latex paints by themselves, you can also do that. If you don't want to use this style of, clear coat, and you want to use, something that's a little bit more mint, a little bit more for the latex mask, then you can. They have that as well. So I will probably just link the Monster Maker site down below. I think that might be a little bit easier and a little bit more friendly to traverse. That way, if you are, if you do want to do paints, you can just kind of do the little drop down menu and see what all is on their website. Also, don't pay attention to my crazy madness mess back here. This is the last video that is getting shot on this table. So, I'm not too worried about the trash that's in the back there, because I'm currently getting everything cleaned up, because this will actually be a workbench, and then we will be going to the other side of my desk and setting up a little bit of a paint booth. So, again, I really hope that you guys enjoyed this video. I know it's been a little bit longer one. Time-lapsed all the paintings, so that way it's not dreadful to just listen to. I've got some Spotify over here, but then you'll also just hear my compressor going off the entire time. So time-lapsed all that for you to keep it from being really annoying. These will dry. I'm not worried about that. This mask will actually just kind of sit by itself for a little while and let everything cure. And then I usually don't handle the mask until 24 hours after the flex paint has sort of done what it needs to do, because this is still very glossy. And as you can tell, the mask itself is a little glossy, but you can still see some wet marks in the eye, or in the nose holes, sorry, eye holes. So yeah, you give this about 24 hours to fully cure, and then you should be pretty much good to go, pretty much good to wear it. Another reason why I like the clear coat, again, I don't mean to ramble, but the clear coat that I use is polyurethane. So it's very strong, very durable, because I do make all of my masks to be worn, conventions, haunted houses, yada yada yada, whatever. But I do like for all of my pieces to be able to be worn and to be able to be used and sort of knocked around and stuff. Obviously, you can't control every little bit of damage that happens to a mask. I've had masks that I've never had any paint chip off of for a decade, and then sometimes I've had masks that I've had paint on it and I've had paint chip in months. Like, it all just depends on how you use them, how you display them, how you store them, and it even can come down to weather. So there's just a lot of factors in there that you can't control personally. But for now, I hope that this has been a good video for you guys. Again, we're super chipper to be back into making full-time content, and yeah, all the links to everything will be down in the description below if you want to get one of these yourself. These are linked on my store. There will only be a few more made because I'm going to redo this mask. I want to spend a little bit of time kind of redefining some stuff. These have still got some blemishes from the 3D print, and as you can tell, the mold is starting to wear down just a tiny little bit. So I'd like to completely redo this, get a new plug, all that stuff, and potentially start making these out of polyurethane foam, because I think that would be fun. But that would be a lot of work, so I'm going to need a little bit of downtime to kind of get that sorted. But for now, again, all my socials and everything will be linked in the description below. If you like the video, you know, obviously show it a little bit of love. It would be greatly appreciated. Subscribe if you want to continue to see content from me. We upload very sporadically, but I'm trying to get a little bit better about it. And yeah, get some outdoor shots of this guy, and we'll see you guys in the next one.